father died when I was 9 years old.
Yeah, what's up, brother? How you doing?
How you doing, man? How you doing? Good to speak to you. Thanks very much for taking the call.
Oh, you got it, Jimmy. Thank you.
So, how you keeping? How you keeping considering the circumstances? Finally getting back to normal, more or less. No?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I mean, I had to work most of August through April, and then I got to take off to Maui for a month. So, between work and being tested for the COVID, then coming back and then going to Maui for a month, I'm doing all right. How about you? How you guys doing over there?
Not too bad. I'm in Spain. I've been living in Spain for the last 20 years or so, but we're a bit behind. So I just got my first vaccine last Saturday.
Oh,
I'm
congrats,
45,
bro.
so it's a bit late. I mean, we've
When,
got it eventually, but yeah, a bit late. I'm 45, and we're only just getting down to like the 30-year-olds now. But we're
oh
getting there.
wow,
We're getting there slowly. Yeah.
yeah, I like your
Uh-huh.
Mickey representing Mickey, man.
Thanks, man. So I mean, so talking of Michele, I mean, I think you go back a few years now, and that was the reason she wanted to get you involved in this film. It's very different. I mean, obviously you're in SWAT right now that everyone knows you about right now, but I mean, you have done a lot of kind of dark. You have done some horror stuff. You've been in Blade and a few other horror things. What was it about this one that kind of got you interested, and how did Michele kind of entice you to get involved in this very passion project for her? No.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, for me, I've always been about, writing, whether I get paid or not. I just like to do interesting writing or something that kind of delves in an area where a lot of people, it's just not the norm. And so I breathe a lot easier, like in those places, like Bates Motel was incredibly dysfunctional, but I love to do the research and kind of psychology behind what makes these characters tick and breathe in this life. And there are obviously circumstances in our world where a lot of dysfunction goes on. So that kind of exploration is always interesting for me. And I know I was doing Bates Motel, and I think I did a movie Solace with Anthony Hopkins
Right. Yeah.
around this time, which was the follow-up to the Seven movie, but this is like 15 years later with different actors and a whole different script. But it was really interesting to me. And so, I mean, I'm always looking for material that isn't mainstream and kind of just goes into a world where you get to explore and lose yourself. And, Michele's a great writer and very, very open. Like, she's very unassuming, because you would just think, oh, here's a sweet little girl that's like beautiful and very subtle and just very kind and nice. Yet when you read her writing, it's very authentic, and it's got a specific voice that kind of is unapologetic and fearless to go down that route and kind of delve into whatever subject matter it is. And when I met her doing the movie Blue, with her and this guy Charles Huddleston, it was a very dysfunctional, messed up thing, but based on a real story. And I loved it. And I loved her, and I loved Charles, and everybody, the way they collaborated and kind of how effortless it was really cool. So when this thing came along, I mean, I read it and I was just like, oh man, I will do any part in this. But I had a chance to play, the wolf slash dad of Little Red. And at the same time, she'd asked my daughter to play the young version of Little Red. And my daughter had done the play before. So, I thought, okay, what a great opportunity. We didn't work with Michele again. And at the same time, work with my daughter, and then go into an area that for me, it's easy to breathe. And for me, Michele, again, is so unassuming and effortless that, you go to these very kind of dark places sometimes, but there's so much freedom there and trust, in her process, that I love it. I mean, I don't question it. Anything she does, I like fall in love with her writing, and I'm like, I'll do anything that you write, and I really will. And she's that good. So,
It must have been a very personal experience for you to work with your daughter about a film that kind of deals with parenting ideals, no, and the way to kind of bring up your daughter. but to actually do that, bring it to the screen and do it with your daughter must have been quite an eye-opening experience for both of you, no?
Yeah, that was a tricky one because of the content of it, and it's like a psychological thriller that slash horror, whatever you want to put this as a genre. I know my daughter was very excited. She wanted to play, the daughter dad, and my mom, like a monologue I have with Little Red, when she's young, is a little, it's written kind of in a way that's very metaphorical. And my daughter at the time didn't understand what it meant. And I kept trying to explain it to her and the relationship. And she, she's such a great actress and being in the moment, but she didn't quite understand it yet. While we were doing our takes, she's trying to like not doze off while I'm doing my monologue, right? And Angelica, you gotta like really hone into me. I know I'm trying, this is not my normal language, but I go, really like kind of look at me and listen, and I go, it's gonna play so much better. And I go, just pretend like you care, pretend like this really means a lot. So she kept trying to, but every once in a while she'd close her eyes and then open them, and I'm like going, oh my God. Angelica, so she was barely 8 years old when she did it, and so she watched the movie with me 2 years later, like when she was 11, and she got what it was about. And then she said, you know what, Dad, I didn't understand it at the time, but I see what that was about now. And that was such a great scene. And she's really, really good, but it was fun for me. And yeah, raising my daughter for me is like the best thing in the world. And every moment is a great moment. Like I didn't really have that childhood. So I thought, well, it's my opportunity to, like, if I ever have a kid, to give her everything that kind of I wish I kind of had, or would have been nice. But anyways, I just like to give and to just be there for her and be like her best friend slash dad slash let's live life in every moment and just enjoy it. So yeah, it's and we've done 3 films together, and she's reoccurring on SWAT with me. So we build these different relationships as different characters on screen, which is always interesting too,
And she doesn't fall asleep as often now than she used to do now.
No. It was fun. It was like doing Shakespeare. I mean, yeah. Michelle's little monologue wasn't quite that, but it was definitely not the talk with an 8-year-old. So it was interesting.
In a similar way, I got a couple of quotes from Michele, and she said that there was a couple of things that she really appreciated about you, and that was why she wanted you for the role, was that you weren't intimidated by 2 things. You weren't intimidated by the deep dark material that we talked about. At the same time, that she said you weren't intimidated by a young female director. Can you tell me a little bit about going to work with her, and how you just kind of jumped in and a leap of faith and you trusted her completely?
I do. Yeah, I've done that with other filmmakers, where they're young and starting out and nobody will give them a chance. And I'm not saying Michele was there, but I've done it with other people where like, I believe in their material, and I don't care how young or old they are. If they're good, they're good, and it's right there on the paper. And with Michele, her writing is pretty genius, and I love the way her mind just allows her to get lost in the moment. So I've never even thought about, Michele's a young female, filmmaker. I just look at Michele like she's an entity that's super creative, super open and extremely, great to be around. And when it says action, we just get lost in this world, and to me, like she's not afraid of anything. Yet she's such an open vessel that you never feel scared or threatened to go anywhere with her, like as an actor. And so, to have a girl look like she does, that can act and that can write like that, and that can, produce, edit, executive produce, is pretty genius. And I always sometimes don't even realize that until the whole thing's done. And I'm thinking like, she did that whole thing by herself. I mean, I'm always saying like, have me come in, I would love, because I love getting into editing room or anything to do with music, but she always specifically has a vision for herself and is so like kind of dialed in. And she's so intelligent when it comes to talking about filmmaking, because I listened to some of her interviews and I'm like going like, man, she's so well spoken and so knowledgeable. It's like insane, because when you hang out and play with her, she just is very giddy, fun, and unassuming. So I love it, and I want her to be super successful.
I mean, talking a bit about speaking in interviews, you've been something that I wanted to kind of collate to this as well, is the fact that this film is very much about standing up for yourself and being who you are and respecting yourself. And something that you've done recently is you've spoken out about your dyslexia, and that kind of like showed people that it's nothing to be to see as a fault, and to kind of accept as it is. But that must have also been something that maybe helped you in this role specifically, no?
Yeah, I think my whole in life, you live life once, and I had so many, issues like a lot of people do growing up, and I had major OCD. I used to have, bulimia for a long time. Dyslexia, I didn't know I had until somebody put a name to it, because I didn't know why I couldn't read. Just, you think you're dumb, something's wrong with you. So, you can make two choices. Is like, you can just crash and burn, or you can seek help. And I've always been one of those, like, I've got one life. No one else is going to look out for me. No one's going to help me do anything. So it's either I got to bust my ass to try to change the things that I'm not good at this one time, or not. And the more I think difficult it is, the more angry I get to take it on, like I want to overcome it. So for me personally, that it doesn't defeat me. It's always this weird thing between me and this, whatever the thing is, that I just don't want it to get the best of me and to give up. I hate losing at things. And so I've always challenged those kind of things. And dyslexia is still, I have major issues with. It's like reading is like pulling teeth out of my mouth. I mean, it's like, like without Novocaine, it's like, I have such a hard time with it, but I don't really care, because it lets me do what I really love to do. So if I have to spend 80 hours on something someone takes an hour and a half on, then I spend 80 hours. I put that work into it, and whatever my process is my process. And I don't maybe, have the luxury of, kind of like not stressing about it. I stress about it. I work really hard, and I'm like, well, this is my thing. So it's my challenge, and I don't blame anyone. I don't act like a victim. I just kind of take it on. And for some reason, I mean, I did go through a strange childhood and experience things that probably I shouldn't have. So it allowed me to, be really messed up for a long time, but then have the opportunity to try to reprogram myself and get better in life. And then once I did, and I got into the acting, it was almost like the universe was allowing me to then filter it through characters. And so that's when I became a little picky and choosy about the kind of roles I took on. And sometimes they would be very, difficult, challenging ones, because I think we all go through a lot of struggle and a lot of pain in life and a lot of dysfunction. And, I just, want people to understand, breathe, be able to relate to it and think I'm not alone in this, And I'm not always saying the characters are great characters, because like some of the characters I've played are just, they're just bad characters, yet I try to humanize them. I don't try to, like, again, redeem them, because some are unredeemable, but I try to just, be like, how did this person get this way? And then let people understand that this does happen in the world, and they're actually real human beings, and not to feel sorry for them, but just to try to take that challenge on, to show that this is also part of our world, and people come from everywhere. And, I don't know, man, I don't mind diving into dark places,
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because I mean, a really good example of a dark character who has his redeeming characteristics at the same time was when you were on The Shield, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. And now that I've got you on, I really wanted to ask you, I mean, it's been 15 years since that show was on. It's hard to believe it's been 15 years. Has there already been any talks with Kurt Sutter, with the rest of the crew? I mean, do you keep in touch with them? And has there already been any talks of maybe reviving that in some way or form? Because that would just, I mean, there still is such a huge fan base for that show.
Yeah, I mean, we bring it up periodically. I know Chickless brings it up with Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan's always like, yeah, I'd be open to it if somebody put up the money. You know, he's always like, if somebody puts up the money, I'd be open to do something. But, you know, we talked about it in a reunion we had like a year and a half ago or something, 2 years ago. And, you know, depending on where everybody is, I mean, Sean would be up for it, but, you know, certain people are working other projects right now, but it's never dead in the water. And other people have definitely brought it up. You know, it would be interesting, you know. Yeah, that was like probably my favorite experience ever. I mean, that and SOA and obviously Bates. I mean, there's some really great shows, but The Shield was like, you know, our baby. I mean, that was just such a
It was just fantastic
yeah.
because it kind of started off like a procedural show and it just went down this dark alley that I just could not. I don't think anyone expected it to go where it went. Yeah,
And came back, yeah, dude. Layer after layer after layer, it just got deeper and darker and more. The more time went on, the deeper we got and the more complex it got. And I'm like going, oh my God, this is like so wrong on so many levels. Yet, so, you know, it was brilliant. I mean, those guys are such great writers. Yeah.
No, it's good to hear that you keep talking about a possible reunion. And yeah, that would be. I mean, that would be a dream.
I mean, yeah, we did. You know, again, we all got together, and I know Chickless has always asked Sean, like, let's make a movie about it, but it's only going to be Michael and nobody else. And then, you know, there's a part of us that are like, nah, I mean, we all want to be if we're going to come back, we want to be a part of the whole thing. And so I know the last time we all got on and did a reunion together and talked about it, you know, Sean was somehow talking about everybody, not just, you know, one or two people. So if we got to do it, you know, I mean, one would be missing definitely because he's in jail, but everyone else I think could be there, you know.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, so listen, I don't want to keep you too long, so just one more question to finish off. I think on IMDb anyway, it says that you've got like a serial killer movie coming up as well that I think you've shot already called Don't Look There. Is that right?
Right. No, that's still in the process right now, so that's not out. But they have another movie that they're trying to lock me down to do, but it's tough between the SWAT shooting schedule and what they want to do. The other movie is like really, it's badass. I don't want to give anything away, but it's definitely similar to this movie, but I think even better.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you, so thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you speaking to me, and it's been real fun to speak to you.
No, it's a pleasure, man.
All right.
Have fun, Spain, man. Keep going.
Yeah.